Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, joined by my favorite co-host of all times, Jen Albanese. Hey, Jen.
Hi, Maury. How are you?
Oh, doing great. I'm getting pumped for today's guest, getting that energy feeling.
Oh, my God. So excited.
High energy guest today. So it's going to be a good time by all, for sure.
Oh, it's going to be a great episode. We're going to learn so much, get some great stories. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
So have to pick up on where we had. So Jen and I had lunch today.
Yep.
And the big topic of conversation, Jen, you want to throw it out there?
Yeah. So we went with our staffs today and we were talking about what adventurous things we'd be willing to do. Like, would you bungee jump? Would you skydive? Would you, all of those things. What are your fears and what would you do? So it was a really good conversation and you can learn a lot about people with these kind of conversations. And there were people at the table and I was like, oh my God, you would skydive, but you wouldn't go on a roller coaster? What? I don't understand it.
So what would your fears be that you would do?
Okay. So I mean,
or
I'm
not do.
Yeah, I have my fears of all different things. I'm not a huge height fan, but so when I was younger, at a theme park, I went with my friends when we were I don't know, in college. And those sky coaster things where they buckle you in with the three of you and they rise you all the way up to the top and then you have to pull the cord and then you it's basically a free fall and then you swing or whatever. So my friends are like, come on, you're such a baby, do it. And I'm like, okay, terrified. So they were loading us in and they wanted me to be the one to pull it. And I go, there's no way. We'd be still hanging there today if I was the one that needed to pull it. So
your fear is pulling a cord.
Well, yes, it does. Knowing that you're actually going to do that to
the
yourself,
one that has to do it. You couldn't be the guy that has to pull the lever down. And
right. So same thing with a bungee jump, to actually step off the edge. I couldn't do that. If somebody, I guess, pushed me probably, but so
yeah, because we talked about I felt comfortable skydiving if I was attached to someone because
which is crazy.
Jump out and first of all, they'd have to be a very well-trained person before I would even consider it. But if it is, I would feel I don't think I could ever train myself enough to jump out of an airplane.
Yeah,
We're
not Tom Cruise here. We're not going to be Tom Cruise here. But yeah, so I did that. I probably think that's my biggest scary thing that I would do. I do roller coasters. I'm cool with roller coasters. I love that.
Zip lines.
I've done
you do zip lines.
I did a zip line on our honeymoon in Hawaii. That was scary and I was freaking out a little bit, but I did it and it was cool. It was very cool.
The ropes course training program.
Cried, didn't do it, didn't finish it. Remember? Cried. I was I can only do the zip line part. I couldn't climb across the stuff and the seeing the below. I was crying. The
which is funny because that's a lot lower than anything else. And one of my staff members said that he had to do it blindfolded at a different institution.
Oh my God.
He's afraid of heights. So in his mind, he's got this crazy thing going on where he's blindfolded up on there and they have to have someone guide you through. He said it was one of the worst things he's ever done.
Yeah, that's terrifying. And that's terrifying. Okay, so what would you do besides the skydive?
I mean, I would do the skydiving thing if I was attached to somebody. I'm pretty adventurous. I like the roller coasters. I do all of those.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's throw something
I would not
in there though.
do bungee jumping. And that's only because I have this vision of my spinal cord separating out and going back as you jump. I don't know why in my mind, they tell you about your back and your spinal cord. I don't need any of that. I'm
not
fine.
The fact that if it snaps, you just automatically
No, that doesn't even bother
impact.
me. It's the being paralyzed or having some crazy nope. I don't even need that. The snapping part is maybe it's a mercy at some point. I don't need any of that.
Oh my God. All right. So roller coasters. But...
The one that I won't do though, and I think I told you this, is I don't like that water coaster where they go and they put you in and they're they drop the floor out from under you. I'll do almost any roller coaster or water thing. But that thing, I did it once and I really did not like it where it's counting down 5, 4, 3. And then the floor is leaving you and the lady's don't bump your head as you go down. And I'm thinking that I'm going to drown and have a huge head paralysis. Nope, won't do that one again. And Did it once. That was good.
Yeah, no. And me as like a smaller person, I feel like I wouldn't be able to be sucked back enough and then like fly forward and like.
Well, it's really a bigger person because their body weight's pushing them forward. You should be good going the other way.
Regardless, that's a definite no. The other thing I was going to say though is, you like rides, but apparently you and your wife have this thing where you don't go on rides that are not physically attached to the ground and don't move from city to city, right? Isn't that your thing?
Well, that's a rule for my wife. Like I wouldn't do it, but it's more of the safety of the coaster. So her rule with the kids is that you can't have a ride that folds up and then goes away. She just feels that that's not a safe thing.
So those field day rides are out. Those field day rides
any of those like state fair field day rides, and it's really more of her rule than mine. Like I understand it and I respect it, but she doesn't think like you should be going on the twister blister upside down thing and then all of a sudden they just fold it up in 20 pieces and put it in the back of the truck and drive away. So she's not a fan of that.
I guess I get that too. But
yeah, especially like you watch those stuff on YouTube where they're like swinging and then all of a sudden they start. Nope. So that's a wife rule. I do respect it, so I do live by that. But it's not personally as big a fear. As a child, I think I did a gazillion of those. But
so basically, bottom line is, guys, we don't like to do anything adventurous. We're very like, let's go on the roller coasters at Disney and work.
Yes. So when we say adventure, we go on roller coasters. Is what we do. Yeah,
pretty much. So, and we feel very brave. Very brave.
With that, probably our guest that's coming up is the exact opposite and would like 100%. Jump out of an airplane, do it like he could pick up the airplane and throw it at somebody. Like he's the exact opposite of this. But we are really looking forward to him. So everyone, stay tuned for after the break. We have a great guest coming up. So we'll see you when we get back. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us on your favorite podcast streaming service. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting, a group focused on educating and guiding high school and college students looking towards careers in athletics. To find out more, go to our website at www.athcareer.com. That's ATHCAREER.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. And we are so excited to have this guest today. Maury, why don't you introduce him for us?
Very excited for today's guest. Today's podcast guest is a man on a mission to help elite athletes get to a peak performance, but also inspire them to go beyond what they think they can do. I say this since I've seen him do it firsthand. A graduate of Springfield College and then went on to the University of Wisconsin-Lacrosse for graduate school. He got his certification an NSCA certified strength coach. After he completed his education, he spent time working at North Carolina State and then on to Syracuse. In 2013, he made a transition to the NFL, working for the Buffalo Bills. His resume includes being on winning teams for the Micron PC Bowl, Insight Bowl, Pinstripe Bowl, 2 lacrosse national championships, as well as 4 AFC East Championships teams. Great to join us today by Hal Luther. Welcome, Hal.
Hi,
Thanks
Hal.
for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Really good to see you, Maury.
It's really good to see you.
Jennifer, I'm sorry, but
no, that's okay.
Maury and we've got a history,
We spent a lot of time with those lacrosse teams.
Yeah,
there was a lot of lacrosse team time.
I wasn't sure what that thing was going to be, but I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Integral part of 2 championships. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was. It is. I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of great athletes, great people, organizations, programs, and, been fortunate enough to be successful at every different level. But I will tell you, that was really fun. I really enjoyed being a part of that.
A lot of people don't realize that team really struggled before that kind of change, and all the mentality changed. And you were a huge part of that. They still say hold the rope. And a lot of people don't realize that came from you, that was awesome. You teaching them to say that and have a mental mentality to keep it going. So
John Galloway said, who's now the head coach down in Jacksonville, I keep in contact with him pretty well. We talk back and forth. He wants to know, hey, what was the stuff we were doing? And somebody sent me Brooke Chase's son, Sammy.
Yeah.
Took a picture of a T-shirt they had down there. And on the back of the T-shirt, it said, it's the price you got to pay if you want to dance in May.
Yeah.
And underneath, this was the part that got me, underneath, he gave me the credit. He hyphened it.
Of course he did.
It was Hal Luther. I'm like, and Sammy's down there is like, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm reading a T-shirt, and your name's on it. Why?
You're all over the place. By the way, Galloway is one of our podcast guests, so you definitely hit it on the head. It all comes full circle.
He's great. He's awesome. He's been great. Like I said, my son Jackson's starting to get, and the girls are getting into lacrosse, and I called down there. I'm like, hey, if you got any broken sticks or old stuff, and blah blah blah. I got 3 boxes full of stuff. He's wearing a Jacksonville helmet at practices, and the kids are like, where did you get that? He's like, oh, my dad knows John.
The connection.
So it's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
awesome.
well,
That's awesome.
I guess we'll dive into the meat of this thing. So
yeah, let's go.
We do 5 tips and tricks. So let's start off with what your first tip or trick would be for those out there.
Well, so almost 30 years of experience in the field, strength and conditioning, and I think, if you looked at my programs since 1998, 2000, and you look at my programs now, they obviously look very, very different, but not really. Point being is you have to be very, top of the line, cutting edge. You have to be exceptional at your craft. If whatever you choose to be. These are the same conversations I have with my kids,
right?
Interns that I have, coworkers. You have to be exceptional. You got to understand that where I'm at right now, and I don't take this for granted one bit. There's only 32 people in the world that have the job that I have.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's 32. So it's really hard to get there. From the strength and conditioning professional, I'm in this little box, and then there's all this down here. And I live down there too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was down there. What I found is that you can't be good. You can't be really, really, really good. You got to be exceptional. You got to be excellent. And you have to challenge yourself every day to be that. You have to research everything. You have to, get out there, find out, research, do it. It may not work for your program, but you still need to know. You can't just look at it and go, that's not going to work for us. You got to go find out. You got to dive deep. You got to do your due diligence. And then you decide, is this something that's going to fit? Is this going to fit our time frame? Is this going to fit our players? Is this going to fit what we're trying to accomplish? Because something may look really good, and it might be great for two players.
Right.
But all of a sudden, I got 45 guys, and I got an hour and a half, and I got to train them. And if I implement that, then maybe I'm not – it's kind of a risk-reward thing. Mm-hmm. And you got to go with what you're going to get, bang for your buck. What's going to help not only that particular player but the entire team. So that's what you got to really do as a professional in this field is you got to really
that must have changed though, because you start not that you have some excellent college players, but you go from a college setting where you have a lot more guys on a roster, a lot bigger net out in college football to what is like the pinnacle, most select group of football athletes in the country coming into your organizations.
It's definitely a different style. And it took me about a year to figure that out because, as you know, Maury, I worked with football. It was myself and Coach Hicks. We had 108 guys. And then on top of that, I think we had 75 lacrosse players.
Yeah.
Right.
So between the two teams, I'm dealing with almost 200 athletes every day. Very hard to be individualized.
Right.
Very hard. The NFL is a different animal. Right now I got 90 guys. And in 2 months, I'm going to have 50.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you peel that back a little more and you go, I got 20 that we really got to lock into. Mm. So that's when it gets different from a programming standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to be and not only that, but we're talking about, when you're in the college world, you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can throw those kids off the building and they won't get hurt. when I was 18, 22, I never got hurt. I mean, I didn't know anything. So you could train those guys. Well, all of a sudden you step across the line, I could have a 22-year-old rookie.
Right.
And then I got a 35-year-old vet that's been in the league for 14 years. He's got 4 kids. He's had 2 ACLs. He's got an Achilles, plays defensive tackle. And I'm like, I got to train this guy different.
Right.
Right.
So that was part of also, professional point number 1 is you have to be very open and willing to learn. You're not the end all be all when you get there, even though you feel like you are sometimes.
Right.
And I think once you do that, that's when the players at this level, there's a huge trust factor that goes on here.
Yeah.
If they don't, this is a player-driven league. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's a player-driven league.
Yeah.
If those guys don't feel like I'm helping them,
you're not going to be there.
They're not going to. They're just going to go. No, I'm not dealing with that guy.
Right. They don't buy into it.
So I have to be more like a car salesman, and I got to know what I'm doing. And you got to know, because if you don't know, and you say a bunch of BS, and they go out and they find out and they come back, they're going to be like, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Well, it's their job too. I mean,
that's how they live.
This is their income. And, in college, I mean, it's changing a little bit, but these are guys that are professionals. Like, it is by all means, like, what they have made themselves into. And you said excellence. They are excellent at their craft.
Absolutely.
And they need the people behind them to support them in excellence. And so it makes 100% sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that was the biggest challenge for me. Quite honestly, I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
More so than I did the college world, because I'm more of a people person. I like to talk. I'm not a negative guy. I'm not a mad guy. I'm a pretty happy dude. I'm a pretty happy guy.
Class, okay, do 20 laps, and we got to figure out because you missed class.
Yeah.
That's not who
we're not. We're not.
We're
not doing that. We're gonna figure it out, and that's a challenge for me too. Is like, how can I relate to this player? How can I get him to understand that?
Yeah.
This is your livelihood, but not only is it your livelihood, it's mine.
Right.
I got 4 kids. We just talked about it. I'm living a really, really good life because of this game. And it's my job to make sure these guys are performing at a high level, and not only that, on the field playing.
Yeah.
Availability is number 1 in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we use that as a tool. Our area is a tool, preventative. And at the same time, we want balanced, explosive, strong, all that stuff. But all that stuff ties into being available and playing.
Right. Okay, so we kind of dive into a lot, but what would be your second highlight that you'd go on?
All right. Everybody get your pen and paper out and write this down, because this is like super duper secret stuff.
I'm ready.
Be nice to people.
Yeah.
Try it. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been around for a long time. I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen the video guy from the Baltimore Ravens 5 years later become the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
Be nice to people.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple thing. It's not that hard to do.
It makes everyone's life a lot better too.
Just do that. I mean, I swear, Chris and I have this conversation all the time. I think the minority in this country is happy people.
Agreed. 100%.
Without a doubt. I'm like,
that's so true.
And I do not subscribe to complaining one bit. I go to my son's, travel baseball, and parents are just, I'll be here for another hour if you want to get on that.
I was going to say.
That's a whole nother podcast.
The problem with youth sports is not anything other than parents. Parents need to get out of the way, because they're going to get their feelings hurt here in about a year.
Right.
I mean, in college sports, it probably wasn't very much different, as you remember. That sometimes the parents probably should have not been in the stands and where they were doing and what they were saying. But
now it's on a completely different level.
Yeah.
It's like, parents are email coaches. Coaches are like, I'm quit. I'm done. Parents are running them out. It's stupid. So
I know.
But again, my point, these are all the things that I guess I was asked a couple of years ago. We were talking earlier, my 26 years of coaching, either, at the Division I or the NFL level, I've been at 3 schools, and I've worked for 7 or 8 head coaches. This is my 3rd head coach in the NFL. And so one of my buddies called and said, how do you keep making it? And I said, I don't know. And they said, yes, you do. You need to like think about it, figure it out. So that's where these tips and rules have kind of come from. You know, you got to be great at what you do. You be nice to people. And number 3, don't embarrass your organization or your program.
Yeah. So there we go. Right on to number 3.
Right on to 3. Let's
go.
I'm
not. I mean, let's be serious.
Go straight to it.
Yeah. Let's be serious. I'm support staff.
Right.
I support the coaches, the athletes, the players, the athletic training, you know, the scouting department, the general manager. That's my role. My role is to support those entities. I'm not my own, you know, I don't run everything. I'm not my own guy, I just run around. So if I go out and get a DWI or beat up my wife, I'm gone. Like,
right.
They don't care. You know, and I've seen too many of my friends, associates, do stuff like that. They've had the whole thing, and you know, it's just like, what are you doing?
I mean, how many people think they're bigger than the organization, and they come to start figuring out that very quickly you're
you figure it out real fast when you get a DWI, and all of a sudden your car doesn't work the next day. You can't get in the building.
Exactly.
And all your stuff's getting sent home to your home in a box.
And
that's real. That's what happens.
I'm the one that ends up having to turn off the card and pack their box, unfortunately.
Right, you are. That's why I won't take a work car or a work phone. I said, if you want to do that, just give me the allowance.
Exactly.
Because
right.
when you fire me, you got to take my car, you got to take my phone. Well, how am I supposed to get a job if I don't have a phone? And no car and a phone, and I can't go get a car because I don't have a job. Right? So,
right.
No,
some of the stupid stuff we got to think about, you know.
It's amazing that like we talked to so many people lately, and it's about those interpersonal connections. I mean, it's been like, if you're nice to people, if you have a positive attitude on those sides, it's going to come back tenfold to you, because that's the environment that you're creating. Yeah,
no question. You know, I think, and do you want to elaborate on point number 2? I know I jumped right to 3, 4.
No, 3's good. You're good.
Okay, all right. And so number 4, or you want to do 3 still?
No, go ahead. Go on. This is your train. You keep driving it.
I mean, 3, everybody gets that. Like 2 and 3, you get it. Sometimes somebody's just got to say it out loud, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, you're right. I know." It's kind of like saying to your kids, like, "What are you thinking?" You're like, "I don't know."
Like, be nice. Like, tell your kids to be nice to your sister too. Sometimes,
like, I know.
Oh, so, I know.
Yeah. So number 3 is obviously don't embarrass your organization. We're not in that role. Nobody is. I mean, 2 of my best friends are general managers of NFL organizations, and gone.
Right.
You know, done, over, family wrecked, everything, just a mess. And it's like, come on. So number 4 would be, and I have this conversation with our interns every year. And, you know, they come in, and I remembered when I was an intern, and I always say, "Hey, this is awesome, isn't it?" They're like, "Yeah, this is amazing." I said, "How do you feel right now?" They're like, "This is the best day of my life." I'm like, "Great." I said, "You know what? You have to feel like that every single day." I said, "I've been here for 12 years. I feel like this every single day." Because if you don't, you know, you're tired or you don't want to, there's 10,000 people standing outside that door that will come in and do my job for a quarter of the money. But the X factor is they won't do it better than me.
Right.
So you have to have that kind of mentality. And that mentality, the only way you can do it is great energy, great enthusiasm, love where you are, love the people around you, be grateful that you're there. You know, I have so many friends and people that have, you know, they're here and I'm working with them, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get this job. I got to get to that job."
Right.
Well, you won't get it because you're sucking at your job right now.
Right. Trying to get to the other job.
Because you're not focused on what you're doing.
Right.
You know, you're not, just be where your feet are.
Right.
I have never been on a job interview.
Right.
I don't even have a resume.
your career is your job interview. The people you know is your your resume.
Your reputation is your job interview.
And that's just from following all those little rules,
Right.
And this is hard, and I know that, this is a great thing that you're doing, because you're, putting people on there that have kind of been through and done it. And I know we talked before. I think this is the part you want me to say, like, what do I do? What would I do again?
Jen will tell you. Jen, go. Jen,
all right.
What do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know when you first started? What do you know now that you wish you would have known the first day you started?
So this is a tricky one, because I'm going to spin it around a little bit, because
it wouldn't be Hal if we didn't just twist it a little bit and make it super cool.
Right. So it's kind of like, would you change anything?
Right. Yeah. Right.
No, because if I did, I wouldn't be here. Like, I'm a believer in that.
Right.
Like, and this is a thing that I also believe, I've had a lot of people say to me, oh man, God, you're so lucky. Boy, you're lucky.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am. I'm lucky. But I tell my kids all the time, I said, luck only happens to people that are prepared for it.
Right.
Opportunities come all the time. But if you're not ready for it and you're not prepared for it, they go, I didn't get it. Well, you weren't ready.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that I want to make sure I say this the right way.
Yeah.
Is the thing is, I'm glad I didn't know. Because if you asked me now to go back and do it again, hell no. That was so hard.
Right.
It was so hard. But I was so young and naive and wouldn't take no for an answer that I didn't care. I mean, I graduated from University of Wisconsin-Lacrosse in December of 97. Had a little Chevy S10 pickup, U-Haul tow behind.
Oh my gosh.
Drove straight down to North Carolina. Didn't have a job. Didn't have anything. Had somebody down there that I knew. I was like, hey, I'm going to go down there and see what's going on. Drove to Duke, drove to North Carolina, drove to North Carolina State, drove to East Carolina, Wake Forest. Ended up walking in North Carolina State. I was like, hey, I'm here. I just got my master's degree. I don't really have anything to do. Can I clean your weight room? They're like, yeah. And I just kept going back every day. Just kept showing up. Because I was like, hey, can I lift here? They're like, yeah, sure. Well, about 2 weeks into that, I realized, like, hey, I'm not getting any money.
How am I going to survive?
So I have to figure out how to eat.
Yeah.
So I got a job at UPS, right? And I'm like, yeah, UPS, awesome. I can drive that truck. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. I was working second shift. I show up at the factory. So second shift is like 6 to 11. I'm in the weight room from 6 a.m. to 4. 6 to 11. And I thought I was going to drive the truck. They're like, no. You go over there and you load the truck.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Northeast kid. I've never been in heat.
Yeah.
It's April. It was ungodly. I'm like, how do people live down here?
Sweatbox.
Yeah, unbelievable. So I went through that and I did that. And finally, I'll wrap this up in real quick. But finally,
good. You're good.
Keep it going. You're good.
Finally, I, the top assistant with football took the head job at Florida. The number 2 guy moved up to the 1. They're trying to, interview, blah, blah, blah. I print off like 30 resumes because I'm in the office when all the resumes are coming in for that job. Whenever Coach, this is when I met Coach Hicks. Whenever Coach Hicks would leave and go to the bathroom, every other resume I would stick my name in. So he'd be like, oh. And then all of a sudden he'd be like, then he'd look at me. I'd be like, then he'd be like, oh. And then he'd pull another one and be like, I'm like, the whole thing's like that. I'm just telling you. And then, awesome. It worked out and I got paid. I got paid $12,000 a year, my first job.
Wow.
$12,000 a year. I just went to school for 6.5 years, got my master's degree. I'm certified. blah, blah, blah. Call home, tell my dad. He's like, what are you doing? $12,000 a year? I'm like, yeah, it's $1,000 a month. It's fine. He's like, that's before taxes. I'm like, oh. But then I got hired at Syracuse, and he was a Syracuse grad, so he was pretty happy. He goes, hey, can you get me tickets? I'm like, yeah. You can get your
there
tickets.
you go.
Yeah.
It all works back around at that point.
I've heard him happy 3 times on the phone. Syracuse hire, my son Jack's being born, Bills hire.
So he was a Bills fan too, huh?
Well, he is now.
That makes sense.
No, we weren't. We were Giants fans growing up, so it's crazy because obviously 1991 or 2 or I think the Giants beat the Bills in the Super Bowl, and I was like, yeah, but all of a sudden people around here, I'm like, oh god,
you can't bring that up. You can't bring that up.
That was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't bring that one up. That's not good.
So Jennifer, did that kind of answer your question? I guess it's not necessarily the one you're looking for. Like,
no, but
what would you change differently? But I think it's more along the lines like, I don't know if I could go back and do it again.
Not knowing gave you that motivation to keep going, kind of. So you
it
didn't
was
know
more
what was
just,
ahead.
I mean, I had just this dream, thought, goal, plan. And it was like, if you're not adding, you're subtracting, and I just pushed everything else out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
I mean, that's it. That's how we talk about it. That's how we talk about it here. We talk about, personalities, positivity, complaining, those kinds of things. It's like, you're either adding energy or you're taking it away. And if you're taking it away, you're out of here. We don't have time for that.
Right. No, that was perfect. I feel like we've gotten like 100 tips, and like this, that we didn't stay within 5. We got about 100. So
that's
this
the
was
beauty
fantastic.
with Hal. That's right. You could literally print T-shirts, and he should just get commission. We should get commission. You get commission from any of your T-shirt sayings. That I helped make some of those over the years.
I know. I should. I don't know. Those guys still call me. It's really cool. Those guys still call me, and. Actually, Jackson's got a lacrosse tournament up in Lake Placid this summer, and I'm sure it's going to be right around that time when all the old boys will be up there. And like I said, to see John and talk to him. And
you'll definitely see the whole group that's up there.
Oh, that Lake Placid. There's so many people that
they'll
go
probably
to that.
get nervous when they see me.
They're going to think you're going to.
What are we doing? The lacrosse experiment was definitely fun.
Yeah,
but it was fun. It was
a cultural shift, and
it was. I did shock them a little bit.
And then you kind of took it into everything you did. Like I saw, like you worked with this group and you turned them into an elite group. That they're going to go down in history. And you work with a lot of great programs. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, let's just make sure we. Get this straight. Those kids were really, really good lacrosse players.
They were.
I didn't have anything to do with that. It was more just getting them to unlock it and believe and, again, be available. That was one of the big issues why I came back over.
Yeah.
And, we had a down year, and a lot of it was we lost some 1-goal games, and it was, for whatever, it just wasn't happening. And we had to come up with some kind of an edge. And that's really where Hold the Rope came from.
But it showed me, like, being very young and seeing, like, every piece of the puzzle and every person that's involved with that, that support group makes a big difference. Like,
huge.
It takes that whole group to build something like that. And I feel so blessed to have been through that experience and been through it with someone like you and all the other people and Troy and all these other people I could name that we've had, and the coaching staff, and just had this experience because it was a group that, you always will have that experience to go through.
You can't win. You got to have all the pieces. Jennifer, I'm going to drop some more knowledge on you. Ready?
Yes. Okay. I'm ready.
All right. Here's the deal. Those boys are awesome. Football kids, boys are awesome. But at the end of the day, we all know there's a whole bunch of alphas running around. It's kind of a jungle down there.
Uh-huh.
You got to have a lion tamer.
That's right.
You got to have one. And
that's right.
Every now and again, I'll have even at this level, I'll have somebody from, higher up administration come down and say, hey, we need to go in there and tell these guys that. And I'm like, I'm not telling them that. Like, that doesn't fit what we're doing. If I go in there and tell them that, they're not going to trust me anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm going to lose credibility, and it's going to be like, well, I said, well, you go do it then. And they're like, well, I said, yeah, you don't want to go in there. I said, you don't really like me sometimes, but you need me.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like, support staff.
Yeah.
You know,
you do it
the blame sometimes, but yeah.
But like the way I see it with you is like you do it through action. Like you don't need to tell people things because of your mentality and the way you run your program, the way you handle yourself. That's what changes people's abilities.
Say that out loud again. I want my wife to hear that one. That was good. That was so good.
Knowing your wife,
she's awesome. You know her.
Your wife is amazing, but knowing your wife, she'd be like, Maury, you got to calm it down. You can't let him be more than what he is.
He can't get his head through the door now.
I know. I said you're going to his head. Yeah. You can't do that, Maury.
Well, I think too that's I think this is important. And I understand what we're doing. Yeah, and this all matters in the pieces of the puzzle is that, this business and this world and what we do, it's different. This isn't, it's not banker's hours.
Right.
It's not 9 to 4. It's not, hey, weekends off. Hey, go on vacation. And if you want to start a family and you want to do that, you got to have the right partner.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really do. You got to have somebody that gets it. And I think that's why other than the fact that she's extremely hot, I was very attracted to her in the sense that she liked the things I like to work out, like music.
Right.
But she was involved in athletics. She understood it.
Right.
She worked at the college level. So it wasn't like, well, where are you? How come you're not here? We never get to take vacation. And I'm like, I get it. And that's why, that's important for all you people out there listening that think you want to, get going. Make sure you have the right person. Make sure your partner understands what this is, because it's not all glorious. It's not protein shakes and lifting all day. That's not that.
No.
I get up at 5:15 every day, and I got home at 7, sweating profusely trying to figure out this computer. And I did it.
I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it.
Oh,
well, on that note, we're wrapping it up. Hal, it has been awesome to hear you, to see you, and just spend time with you. So definitely, I got to make sure that we stay in touch more, and I'm definitely going to reach out more often because this has just been great for me.
Well, now you're a big, you're a big time AD, and my kids are playing lacrosse. I need some bunch of free stuff. Just send it over here, and I'll send you some Bills gear. I'll get you some tickets.
You know where we are. We'll pass through. We'll go to Buffalo, go back and forth. But
exactly.
That's
it's
great.
so good to see you.
Awesome. This was so great. You gave so many tips, way more than 5. So thank you. This is awesome.
Hey, as I tell my guys all the time, I'm not smarter than you. I just been there. It's not knowledge. It's just experience.
Yeah.
So true. It's a lot of trial and error. A lot of oh wow, I am really dumb. That was stupid. And then I figured it out as I went. As I say all the time, I never made a bad decision at the time.
Yeah.
I was always like, this is a great idea. And then the next day you're like, whoa. But same thing with, in the profession. You try things and then you learn from it, and then you start to build and remember, and there you go. It leads
to good things.
Like you said, I've been very blessed, very fortunate.
Well, we liked having you and sharing your knowledge. So thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good to see you again, Jennifer, Maury.
Yes.
Always great.
So everyone, come on next time. Check out. We have our next episode, and we'll catch you on the next time around. Bye.
Bye.
Cool.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.